Thank you, Debbie, for having me and for allowing Virginia Cooperative Extension to give this report on current agriculture situation here in Culpeper County, Virginia, and just reflecting across some of the impacts of the nation. So agriculture does reach out across that. Dave, we probably export most, if not all, of what we produce in this community outside our borders. We don't feed ourselves locally from our local production. That's changing, but mostly we import into this area. Weather is a big factor on agriculture. We've just set some records in April. We set a low record April the 6th. That's important. I must assess damage to agriculture conditions based on weather events, sometimes a flood or frost, fire, a snow load. I must be aware of those effects. And so on the 10th of April, we had another cold night, but not a record, but it was down in the 20s. And so that alerted me to the vulnerabilities of crops, Tom, that are out there. They're buds that are still encased in their protective structures, embryonic forms of production that could be affected by that. And we saw damage to the small grain crop, barley, rye, and wheat. It was not catastrophic across the industry, Michael Webert, but it was impactful to those that had individual high exposures. So as we report that damage, it showed not much damage overall, but individuals had significant damage. That's a bit of a pick at the reporting structure. Individuals aren't represented, it's the industry as a whole, but weather's a big deal to us, and it's a big deal to you too, but we always have a plan B or C because of the weather. Agriculture locally has been a victim of the strong dollar. That reflects in reduced exports. It has had a effect on our prices, and our supply has had an effect on our prices. A lot of supply, a strong dollar, so prices have tended to come down from historic high levels. $7 corn, $25 milk by the 100 pounds, $7 corn by the bushel, 56 pounds, and cattle as much as $3 for a little bitty one, a pound. So those are record prices that we may not ever see again, but they have propelled us forward in investments in our infrastructure, paying off debt, and positioning ourselves for the future. So they carry some of that money forward page in how they've allocated it to their business. So that's good. Record prices, they're gone. We're now at production at or below cost. Not so good. It's a margin business, a small margin if it's plus at all. And so you need a lot of margins to add up to have enough income to operate on. Net income is down more than 50%, and operating debt is up some 30%. And it's going in the wrong direction. We're not a commodity pork producer, but pork was worldwide the top commodity among gold, oil, beef, grain, number one in the world in last year's growth, some 19%. Was pork. Now, we're not participating in that in the industry scale, but we do produce a little bit of small backyard pork, and that's growing as fast. Anybody that grows it and sells it can't sell enough of it. So local pork is feeding some of our demand for pork. Not all of it, but some local bacon or ham or sausage can be sold just easy if you can grow it. Farmland sales are interesting. We've been selling a little land lately. Some 1,800 acres. The price is about $5,000 an acre, round figures, some more, some less, adjust for improvements or soil types, but the market for farmland in tracts, 200 acres or more, Tom, is about $5,000 an acre. So that's interesting, and it's moving. So that's some of that money. There's been some borrowed money, and there's been some land sales, and they roll it into purchases, but that's about the market, and so probably we'll see upside on that as we go forward. There's a labor shortage. Why is that? There's competition in Northern Virginia for folks that want to do farm work, and they don't have to work for $100 a day anymore. They're getting paid $200 a day in Northern Virginia, and that's what they want here now. They turn down those that come and ask, would you like to work today? They say, well, no, I don't really want to work for you at that price. So they'll have to pay more to get them, and to keep the ones they've got, they'll probably have to pay more. There goes cost. My economist friends say that when we had high prices, high costs quickly follow, some 90 days later. So people always want a piece of the action, and I guess labor is now responding in that direction, but due to competition for those jobs in Northern Virginia. Generally, our cost of production is exceeding our net income. That's it depends on the farm. It's not every case, but that's generally what the industry is faced with. Our hay situation, we're generally selling commodity hay, the hay that's not premium hay that Dave Durr would take at a retail setting. We're selling commodity hay for about the cost of the fertilizer that goes into it. no money for the tractor, the diesel fuel, the depreciation, the land cost of the labor. That's not a good scenario. Now, the good hay, the hay that Dave would take and put on his retail shelf, that's making the farmers money. So they don't produce all good hay, though. The good hay is hard to produce, that's why it's valuable. But that's come up with the economy. So the good hay was suppressed when the economic downturn came along. We're responding positively with a little economic upswing, and so the hay producers that can meet that high-quality hay market are doing so, and doing so at a profit. A good situation, a bright spot. Local products are another bright spot. If you can grow it, they will buy it. The consumers want to know where it came from, how it was produced, what methods were used, and we've got labeling of products from around the world, and so we want something from a certain region, maybe in France or wherever, and so we're starting to get some of that recognition by consumers here. Is it a Virginia product? Virginia ham is a good example, peanuts, and so we could probably see regional associations by consumers in buying products that are grown in those regions. Sod is an interesting situation. I noticed trucks going south and north. I come north in the morning and I started seeing sod trucks going south. Where do you reckon they were going? Charlottesville, I think. I talked to the sod growers, and of course their sod follows house construction. There was some of that going on, there was enough to generate movement in that direction. They followed those pre-cut houses south too, so not all the work is north. There's some action going south too. The sod moves that way, and we can grow sod and sell it at a profit. There are traditional farmers, and a sod farmer may not be a traditional farmer, but I figure all farmers are about the same. The ones that brought us here to this dance are probably not going to be the ones that take us forward for the next generation or two. But when I talk to them about the other farmers, they're not farmers. Corn is farming, but cattle is farming, but flowers and fish and forestry and food, they're all farmers too. It's just don't talk about the product. If you talk about the methods, they're all farmers. And so indoor production is an area where we're going to increase our food production. We may grow a few more flowers or hanging baskets, but it looks like the future of indoor production in greenhouses might be in food production. We see a couple examples of that. One particular example, I learned recently how it got its name. I won't tell you which one it is, but at night I recognized why they call themselves what they do. So you figure that out when you're traveling and you see something and you get your attention. It's not the lights at the runway at the airport, but there's some other lights showing. So that was interesting. I figured out in my own way that I thought that's how they called themselves. So a couple of producers growing some food, increasing the acreage, the square foot devoted to that. And I'll finish with a comment on the Carver School project. So that's gaining traction. Culpeper County deserves a lot of credit, Sue and others, to putting up some seed money in front. It's a great big project. $100,000 sounds like a lot. I can take credit for a generation of activity of about $350,000. That's very good, but we could go 7 figures 10 times over and probably still not finish the project, Sue. But it has that capacity. And Michael Weber, thank you for pointing me in the right direction on a grant that was successfully secured with your suggestion on where to go, and I took it and ran, and it worked. And so more of that's got to happen, and the partnerships are very rewarding. Those who would participate and spend time and have some vision maybe to put money to work. And so agriculture's got a lot of future. We'll probably do more of the non-food production as we go forward. It is the number one source of farm income. It's not food, it's the ornamental stuff. The disposable income production is our number one source of farm income. So we'll probably see that as a leader and a grower going forward. And pay attention to the Carver project and see where it goes. It's a charity, and the Give Local Piedmont thing is just about to finish up, I think, today or tomorrow. So there's a place there to participate if you'd like. My next speaker, Paige Reed, if you'd move forward. So that's that partnership between tourism and economic development. It's a great one, a good combination, and Paige Reed will tell you a lot.